Hello, everyone, and welcome to my fourth iEat Green Zoom cooking class. It's going to be a wonderful time to make dinner together. We are making two dishes tonight. The main dish is a vegan take on eggplant, on Ziti Siciliano, which is really like an eggplant Parmesan and a ziti mixed together. We're going to make that using an egg alternative, and also making ricotta cheese using cashew. And one of the things that I really love doing and showing you all these ways of substituting things is that a lot of what I'm showing you is very interchangeable. I also want to just let you know that we are recording this class so that if any of you don't want to be seen, you can take your video off and then you won't be seen. But if you have it on speaker view, you're not being seen anyway. So like I said, we're going to be making the Ziti Siciliano, and then we're also doing a sauteed broccoli rabe. And yet during this time of weird shopping issues, when I was at the store, I actually couldn't get broccoli rabe. So I've got broccolini, which are little baby broccolis, like this. So I'm going to be sauteing broccolini instead of broccoli rabe. It's basically done the same way. So I'm going to ask everybody to preheat your oven to 75.
Why?
And you put a pot of water on to boil, just so you have that ready. See, one of the reasons I'm not making lasagna, which you can also use this recipe making lasagna, is just because that has to bake for a longer time, and we don't have the time today to do that. But this recipe is also interchangeable using lasagna noodles. And you should know that when I use lasagna noodles, I use them straight out of the package. I never pre-cook the lasagna noodles. That's why I take the full hour to cook, and we don't have that amount of time. So I hope you all have some red wine to make the evening a little more enjoyable.
We need an extension cord.
What's that?
An extension cord? For what?
Can you please mute your speakers, Sue? Phil, while you look for the extension cord. So,
Sorry.
Start by getting the sauce ready, okay? So pull out your onion and your pepper. Right here. We're going to start by sauteing the onion. Whenever you're sauteing vegetables, and I know everyone's saying the same thing, so just bear with me if you've been on the class before. You always start with the cup. Again, if somebody is not muted, please mute your speaker so that we don't hear the background noise. And put it up on speaker view, which is on the upper right corner is speaker view, and in the lower left corner is mute. So you want to go to that little speaker icon and mute yourself. Okay, so I'm going to put a little olive oil in the bottom of my saucepan. That's where I'm going to be making my marinara sauce. When you are choosing what sauce you're going to buy, you want to look at the ingredients. You want to always look at ingredients, even if you think you know what the ingredients are. I actually used to buy the marinara sauce at Trader Joe's, not looking that the marinara sauce has Parmesan cheese in it. And so if you're trying to avoid dairy, you want to be able to see everything. You also want to look for any hidden sugar. A lot of tomato sauces put sugar in there, and you do not need that. So, you know, it cuts a little bit of the acidity, but with sauteing the vegetables and everything in there, that sweetness is enough to cut the acidity. So we're going to start by cutting up our onion. You're going to dice the onion. So you're going to take the skin off first. And I hope many of you are cooking along with me. And I sent the recipe. It's really great if you sign up ahead of time for these classes. I can send you the recipe ahead of time so you have enough time to shop and get the ingredients. I know a lot of people don't sign up until last minute, and then you get the recipe and you don't really have time to shop. So you can actually go on and sign up for all of them at once, which makes things a little easier. So I cut the onion in half and I lay it flat. That actually makes it really easy for me to cut it because it's not going to wobble around now. So while it's lying flat, I'm going to make a few cuts going sideways in it. And then I'm going to turn the whole onion, and make cuts this way. Keeping my fingers away. I always cut my fingers so that the tips of my fingers are away and my knuckle is being used as a guide so that I can control how big the pieces are. Again, score it across and then cut it down. Okay, I'm gonna turn my pot on with the olive oil and get that hot, and then add the onions to that. I'm going to take my onion peels right over here to my compost bucket. And I put all of my scraps right in here, and this goes out to my garden on a regular basis and helps nourish my soil. Okay, so once the oil starts shimmering, you know it's getting hot. You can add the onions. You want to get them in that pot quick so that you don't cry too much, which I'm already starting to do. Okay, you can hear it sizzling. Get a big wooden spoon, have that nearby. In with the onions are going to be, we're going to put the peppers. So I'm going to first remove the inside seeds. And then I'm going to cut this into dices as well. I'm just going to slice it down like this. Ugh, sorry, the onions got to me. Okay. And then again, keeping my fingers out of the way, just going to let my knife do all the work. Just going up and down on top of the strips of pepper that I've sliced up first. Then turn all the slices at once, and then just go up and down. In with the onions, I'm going to add some garlic. So I have minced garlic that I minced already. I probably will need a little bit more. So I do want to share with you one of my favorite devices. This is my mini chopper. And I believe I showed this to you in weeks before. But this does so much great work. I mean, you can, of course, mince your garlic by hand, but this does it so fast. So let me just show you. Take the garlic cloves, and I am a little bit lazy since I do so much cooking. I buy the garlic already peeled, except when I grow my own garlic, then of course I'm using the whole thing. But this garlic I bought already peeled, and you can buy it in a little container at Whole Foods, organic garlic already. Putting this right on here.
Bonnie, you disappeared.
Honey, we can't see you anymore.
You can't see me. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
we just lost you.
Let's see what's going on.
Okay.
Thank you.
You see you
Please
now.
unmute yourself and let me know if that happens again. That's
will.
important.
Yes.
Okay. Pull out your wine, have a sip. Okay. And keep an eye on your sauteed onions. I'm going to lower the heat a little bit so I don't burn it. I'm going to add my peppers right to this. I'm just going to let that saute a bit. Meanwhile, you want to pull out your eggplant right here. And for the eggplant, This is not a huge one, but right now it's just my husband and I eating, so I think I'm just gonna use one. I bought two, of course, because that's what I always do. If I'm not sure it's big enough, God forbid I don't have enough, so I buy two, but I think I'm just gonna stick with using one. We're gonna peel it, and I'm not peeling the whole thing. I'm just gonna peel slices. Kind of give it some stripes. Gonna cut off the end. And now I'm gonna just cut this into slices, about 1/4 inch thick. And we have the option of sauteing the eggplant slices or baking them, okay? I think I will saute them just so we can all see what's going on a little easier. But if you bake them in the oven, you actually use a little less oil.
We lost you again.
You lost me again?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, thank
I
you.
don't know what's going on.
Someone's trying to call you.
Is there a way to see other people that are also in the,
Back.
Yes, in the upper right corner, if you go to gallery view, you'll see all the little squares of everybody.
Okay.
And there's also a way to chat on the side if you want to talk to individuals. I can't see the chats because I'm talking here and they're really little on the side of the computer.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you need to ask me a question, ask me directly. But if you want to chat to anybody else that's on the Zoom call, you can do that. But
Okay.
anyway, you can line a cookie sheet with some parchment paper, spray it with some olive oil, and you can bake the slices of eggplant if you'd like. But like I said, I am going to actually saute it here in the frying pan. But first, we're going to make our egg alternative. And to do that, I use 2 pie pans here. Let me get rid of my vegetable scraps. Okay, so I have 2 pie pans here. And then I have ground flaxseed. You're going to take 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed. And ground flaxseed, when you add water to it, it becomes very glutinous. And I use this in a lot of recipes as an egg alternative. Basically, 1 tablespoon of flaxseed to 1 tablespoon of water is the ratio. So I have 2 tablespoons of flaxseed. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of water. And this is like equivalent to 1 egg. You want to just let it sit for a little bit, and that's going to get glutinous and egg-like. But it's not enough for the amount that I am making. So I'm also going to add a 1/4 cup. I'm going to let it sit for a little bit, but then I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of a milk alternative. And I have oat milk here, but soy milk, rice milk, any of those will work. Take a peek at your onions and peppers and just give them a stir. Make sure that they're not getting overcooked or burning. So I'm going to measure out a 1/4 cup of the oat milk. While the flaxseed is setting, I'm going to make a mixture of breadcrumbs that we're going to use. I have 2 different kinds of breadcrumbs. These are organic breadcrumbs, lightly salted, just plain. And I tend to mix it with panko flakes, which are just a little bit more crumbly. Now, if you are gluten-free, if you are gluten-free, you can buy really good gluten-free breadcrumbs. I'll show you what those look like. Right, this is a brand that I like a lot. These are Gillian's gluten-free wheat, soy, and dairy-free breadcrumbs. And you can use these really well as well. So I mixed the 2 different kinds of breadcrumbs. I put in some nutritional yeast, which is very high in B vitamins and also gives a little bit of like a Parmesan-y type flavor. Then you want to put in basil and what did I say? Like a tablespoon of basil and a tablespoon of oregano. And some garlic powder. I'm going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder here. Some salt. Pepper. Then just mix that up. And this is what we're going to bread the eggplant slices with. Now, very often you will see people salting their eggplant first to try to bring the bitterness out. When you get a young eggplant that are this small, you really don't need to do that. If you have a really big eggplant that has a lot of seeds in it, you might want to do that. In which case you would just sprinkle some salt on top, let it sit for like 15 minutes, and then take a paper towel or a rag and just wipe the water that comes out of it off. Okay? I'm going to add the milk now to this egg mixture. Okay. I'm going to first, let me stir my sauce here. I'm going to add a little white wine now to the tomato sauce.
And put tomatoes.
Deglaze the pan if any of the onions or peppers are sticking to the bottom. It's also just going to help them really get luscious and delicious in there. Add a little bit more minced garlic. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to bread the eggplant. First, go into the flaxseed mixture, and then into the breading. And this recipe is really kind of like comfort food. And I feel like while we're home, stuck in the house, you know, a lot of my meals are more vegetable centered. This is just a comfort food, and it's very satisfying for one of these rainy days like today. Just give it a little shake. If you want to try to keep all the mixture, the nutritional yeast and the spices tend to go down to the bottom. You want to just give it a little mix. Actually, there's a lot of skin on this one. I'll just give it one more peel. The flaxseed won't really stick well to the skin, so I wanted to remove that a little bit. Same here. Okay. That was the perfect amount of flaxseed and milk. So if I was to use both eggplants, I would have needed a little bit more. Okay? I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to put some, let me just rinse my hand. I'm going to put some olive oil in this frying pan. While I'm heating up this oil, I'm going to get the sauce going. I'm going to add a jar of this tomato sauce. And either one, whether you use the tomato basil or the low-fat marinara from Trader Joe's that does not have any cheese in it, whichever one you want is fine. Come on, there you go. And I'm going to add my can of fire-roasted tomatoes. This is a large 28-ounce can. You can use 2 of the smaller cans if you don't have a large can. And if you don't have any of these, you can use an extra jar of sauce. So give that a mix. Let that start sauteing. Okay, my oil's getting hot. I can see that it's shimmering. So I'm going to add the eggplant slices to this now. Eggplant is one of those vegetables that really needs to be cooked all the way through. It needs to be soft in order to be good. Okay? So we're going to let that saute. And you don't want to cook it on too high a heat because you don't want it to burn. I put my water on to boil. It is now boiling away. I'm going to put some salt into the water. And people ask how much salt. You want enough salt so that it just tastes like salted water, but not so salty. It's not like gargling with salt water. The same saltiness of, let's say, a miso broth. You can just taste it like that. Okay, I'm going to add my pasta. So I brought out a couple different pastas. I mean, ziti technically is made with, a ziti or a penne. I like penne just because it's cut on the angle. It's a little thinner. But I have, here's an organic penne, here's an organic whole wheat penne, and here is a fusilli, that's brown rice and quinoa. They also make this branded in penne, but they didn't have it, of course. So I'm going to opt for the whole wheat penne right now. I'm going to cook the whole pound, but we'll see. We may not want to use the whole pound. You might feel like it's too much in the pan, depending on the size pan you have. All of this is flexible. I made this before with my husband. I've been using only half a pound because I wanted there to be more eggplant in there and I didn't want so much pasta. So I'm going to cook the whole pound of pasta and I'll play it by ear as to whether I actually use the whole pound in the recipe. Get out a fork. That's really kind of the best tool for peeking at your eggplant. Like I said, if you were going to bake this in the oven, you would just put it on parchment paper that you either sprayed with olive oil or you brushed with olive oil, so it does have a little bit more olive oil on it. I just add a little bit more olive oil because it does absorb olive oil.
Avani,
Yes?
there are a couple of people who are not muted and it's a little distracting.
Okay, if everybody who's joined, you might not have heard, on the lower left corner, there's a little icon that shows a speaker. If you can just mute that, please. And in the upper right corner, you can put the view on speaker view if you want to see me large, or gallery view if you want to see all the other people that are on as well. And we're going to lower the sauce so it's a slow simmer.
I think it's Maria Cirolo, perhaps.
No, it's not. No, but I'm not muted. I'm not doing anything. I realize I'm not muted. I will mute myself.
I'm sorry, thanks.
Okay, I'm going to turn the eggplants. And I'm gonna have to add a little bit more oil, because like I said, it absorbs quite a bit of oil. Now the pasta, you can set a timer or you can just taste it. And that's usually what I do. Just taste it. You want it to be al dente. You don't want to overcook it because it is going to cook in the oven as well. I'm going to set up a plate with some paper towel for taking the eggplant off and absorbing the oil. I'm going to put it right here on this cookie sheet. Right there. Okay. Okay, so I have my tomato sauce simmering, and that's okay. It's not going to burn. I have the eggplant. I'm going to lower this temperature too, so it cooks a little slower, so it gets cooked all the way through without burning. And while this is cooking, I still have to do another round of the eggplant too, but I want to bring over my Cuisinart and show you what we're going to do with the cashews. Hopefully you all have been soaking your cashews for 2 hours or so. If you don't have time, like if you needed to speed up your soaking, you can always put it, if you put it in hot water, it actually soaks a little faster. I'm going to drain this now, so excuse me while I go to the sink. Okay, I've drained my cashews. Let's move my eggplant over a little. And I'm going to bring over my Cuisinart. Move it over so it reaches like a plug. Okay, so my Cuisinart right here. I've drained my cashews. I'm going to put all 3 cups of cashews into the Cuisinart. I now need 3 cups of water. And this is, I use filtered water, and this is equal parts cashews to water. I'm going to start with just putting half of it in, so that it just doesn't spurt out all over the place. Hold it back. I'm going to add the rest of the water. Pulsing it is always good just to get it started. You can see that it's leaking out a little bit. That happens with Cuisinarts. Go in on my tomato sauce and my eggplant. See how that's going? Okay, the eggplants are good. I'm going to take them out. I'm going to wipe out the pan because there's a lot of crumbs in there, and that will cause burning. So I'm just going to dump out these crumbs. Put in some more oil and cook the next batch. Okay, just barely fit them in. Okay, these are the eggplant slices that you can see right here. They're golden brown. They look beautiful. Okay, so back to my ricotta cheese, my mock ricotta cheese. So I'm mixing the cashews really well. You want to get it really creamy. And in this, we're going to add some more nutritional yeast. 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. We're going to add some salt to this, and see, a half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and some more garlic. So I have my minced garlic over here, and we're just going to put in half a teaspoon of garlic. Put it back on pulse. Put my tomato sauce and stir. I'm going to lower this a little bit. Let me check on my pasta. So I have a little slotted spoon here. Okay, not quite ready. I'm going to show you the ricotta cheese. And I'm going to actually be able to, I'm going to spin it a little bit more because I'm going to show you, it still has a little bit of crumbliness to it. If you can see that. I want to get it really, really smooth. So I'm going to do it a little bit more and just let it go. You can scrape down the sides a bit. More olive oil. So adding a little more olive oil to the eggplant. Like I said, it absorbs a lot of oil. That's one of the reasons I like baking it, but baking it just takes a little bit longer. And I did want to get this in the oven.
Lavani,
Yes,
don't yell at me, but what's in the pot that you're boiling? I think I missed that.
the pasta.
Oh, what pasta did you say you're using?
I used whole wheat penne. But
Okay,
you can use any type of pasta that you like or that you have on hand. It's really
Got it.
quite flexible.
thank you.
Mm-hmm. So my pan doesn't cook so evenly. So of course what's in the middle is a little hotter than what's on the side. So I'm moving my eggplant slices around a little bit just to get it to cook a little more evenly. I got one noodle and taste it. Good. It's a little al dente, which is what I want. I'm going to pull my pasta out. Now I love this pan, this pot, because it has a strainer insert right into it. See, so I don't need a separate colander. But I am going to go over to the sink to do this just so that I don't make a mess over here. I'm going to let that just strain right there in the sink. Okay. Let me mix this up a little more. that's looking good now. So I'm gonna need the Cuisinart again. Actually, maybe I'll do it by hand. I was gonna say, I can use the Cuisinart to grate my mozzarella cheese, or my vegan mozzarella cheese. This is the cheese that I recommended you all get. My Yoko actually has a great vegan cheese cookbook that I purchased. And those are the recipes I use when I make my vegan chèvre cheese, which tastes so similar to goat cheese and so satisfying. It's really, really wonderful. So I'm just gonna wipe my counter here because it's a mess.
Giovanni,
Yes?
I like watching you much better than Rachel Ray.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so I am going to get out a dish to put my cheese right onto.
I have to say the same thing. Not only are you great, but you're so cute.
Thanks. Okay, so we're gonna open the cheese.
And much more colorful, and your food is much more nutritious and
Certainly
delicious.
healthier.
Can you tell us the name of the mozzarella?
Okay, so we have a block of vegan mozzarella cheese. And you know, honestly, I use the mozzarella cheese really for the visual. So that's why I don't waste the money or the time putting the mozzarella cheese in the middle of the dish. You know, when I used to make a ziti, I would always put mozzarella inside as well as on the top because it was adding flavor. This doesn't, you know, this I really use for the visual. I want the look of the mozzarella cheese on top, but I don't find that it's adding so much flavor that I need it. So,
What's the brand again?
Mayoko, Miyoko. And like I said, she has a great vegan cheese cookbook. Although I have to say, I've never gotten past the first cheese recipe because it's so good. You know, I don't really feel like I need the hard cheese. I just stop right there at making the goat cheese. And I'll show you some. I've made some this week. And so here, this grates up like this. You know, it's softer than real mozzarella. In flavor wise, it's actually good. Where, you know, in general, when I think of fake things, I'm not usually a big fan. But this mozzarella cheese is really quite good. Okay, so this batch is going well. I'm going to add again a little bit more oil. And like I said, I haven't used it in the frying pan in a while. I've been baking it for so long because it uses so much less oil, and I'm being reminded as to why I do it that way. As I keep having to add more and more oil. When you cook it in the oven, it uses so much less oil. So it's definitely healthier that way. So I recommend.
Bhavani?
Yeah.
When you cook it in the oven, how do you prepare the, you bread it the same way, and then what do you do?
Bread it the same way. You put it on top of the parchment paper. Put a little oil on the parchment paper. So whether you use an olive oil spray or you just brush on some olive oil. So you want some olive oil so that it gets crispy. And then you put it down and just bake it in the oven. And halfway through, you just keep looking at it. After like 15 minutes, you're going to turn it over. The side that was face down will be golden brown.
Yeah.
And the top will not be golden brown. You might want to put a little bit more oil on it.
Right.
Or not. That's up to you. But turn it over and let the other side get golden brown.
And what temperature?
350, 375. Everyone's oven's different. As long as you're watching it, it doesn't really matter.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. So now I'm going to take my measuring cup. I turned my sauce off. I'm going to remove 2 cups of the tomato sauce. Okay, and just set that aside. Go back to your pasta. And I'm going to mix the pasta right into the rest of this pot here. And like I said, I'm going to go slow in mixing it And make sure that I have enough sauce. Plenty. Okay, I'm going for the whole pound. Whole pound of sauce, pasta is in here. I'm going to show you what this looks like. Okay, so there's enough sauce to the pasta. Some people like their ziti even saucier. You can actually open another jar if you want, put more tomatoes in. But we still have some sauce that we're going to be adding, so you'll see. I also need some chopped parsley, which I have not done yet. So I'm just going to pull out my parsley, chop a little parsley here. Again, when you're chopping, let your knife do the work, okay? Just go up and down on top of the big mound of parsley. And then you keep using your knife and bringing the parsley back on top. And you make a big pile of the parsley. And as it comes down, it cuts many different layers of the parsley at once so that it's cutting quicker. Okay, and depending on how fine you want to go, you can keep going or you can stop. Okay, I'm going to add about 1/4 cup's worth right into my pasta with the sauce. And that also just gives it a really nice color. Let me see how these are doing. These are good. I'm going to pull them off and put them on this paper towel to drain. Try to get some of the oil off of it. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to get my lasagna pan. And 1 cup of this tomato sauce that I pulled out is going to go into the bottom of the lasagna pan. Just mush that around there. You can take half of your pasta in here. I need a mitt because it's hot. Half of the ziti. Oh, a good grip. 1 second. Okay. Half of this ziti is going to go right into here. Spread that around. Then the eggplant is going to go right on top like this. Perfect amount. Doesn't always work so perfect. If you have extra, you can put in extra. You can make 2 layers, however you want. Now I'm going to put half of my ricotta cheese. I'll give it 1 last stir here. I'm actually going to taste it because I haven't tasted it. See whether I think it needs more salt, more garlic. Actually, what it needs is it needs to be blended more. I can taste the texture of the cashews in here. You don't want to. You really want to blend it well. So bear with the noise here. We're going to put half of this ricotta into the casserole. Put the rest of the pasta on top. More tomato sauce, and then the rest of the ricotta, and finish it off like that.
Bonnie, where do we find the recipe?
Excuse me?
Where do we find the recipe?
I sent it to everyone that signed up. So if you didn't sign up, I will send it to you, but it will also be posted on my website by tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
But if you send me an email, is this Lorelei that I'm talking to?
Yes.
Yeah. Send it to you.
Pavani, excuse me?
Yes. Hi, Carol.
Hi, I feel like my cashew ricotta is a little soupy.
Mine too. You know, if you want, you could do a little bit less, but if you keep mixing it, like I said, it's still crumbly. The more you mix it, it will fluff up because all those crumbs will become puree. So just give it a little extra time. Hi, David.
Hi.
And also the cashew ricotta will thicken up as it cooks. Okay. I'm going to put half of this on here right now. See, mine's quite liquid as well. So it's thinner than a regular ricotta. Think of it more as it may be like a bechamel sauce. Okay, the rest of the pasta is going to go right on here. Maybe I'll save this for Sunday. I think we actually might see my kids for the first time for Mother's Day. I hope, I'm hoping.
Really?
I think so.
You're so lucky.
I think so. I'm hoping.
I'm jealous.
Me too.
Gosh darn it.
Okay. I'm gonna put the rest of the bechamel. Spread that over it. Then the tomato sauce right on top. Some parsley. And then we're going to bake it first before we add the mozzarella. Because the mozzarella doesn't take that long to melt. Okay, so this is going to go right into the oven. Clean up a little bit, and then we're going to cook our broccoli rabe. Don't forget to drink your wine. I almost forgot. Yum. Okay, let's get rid of this pan. And I'm going to cook the broccoli rabe in my trusty wok. It's literally one of my favorite cooking utensils. All right, I'm going to put some olive oil right into here. Now, I actually pulled out another onion. In the recipe, I realized I did not call for an onion, but onion can add a really nice sweetness to it. And since I had the onion, and I figured we have the time while our pasta is cooking away, let me just get some of this off of here. I am going to add onion. So moving over my parsley. Okay. Now for
How do you keep your knives sharp?
Yes?
How do you keep your knives sharp?
It's a challenge. I have all these different tools. I have, different knife sharpeners that I try and I don't do a great job with it. Then I break down and I get Joe to do it for me. But I'll show you this latest one. Harper gave this to me. It's so easy to use. I can't use a dirty knife. Let me get a clean knife. You hold it just like this. How do you do it? It's been so long. Just like that. And it's pretty easy. And that really, does the trick. The other trick is to not let it get too bad so that you really have to start from scratch. Try to stay on top of it. Okay, so again, I have my onions flat. I'm not dicing these. I'm just going to keep these into slivers. So again, I'm going to use my finger as a guide. My knuckle is going to decide how fat my slivers are going to be. So if I want my slivers to be fat, I move my finger back far. If I want them to be very thin, I just move my finger very little bit each time I go up and down. And that way I have thin little slivers, okay? Same with the other side. Okay. My oil is shimmering. That's how you know it's ready. People very often ask, is it okay to saute in olive oil? I love sauteing in olive oil. The main thing you want to know, you don't want to let the olive oil smoke. It has a lower smoking point than some other oils. And if it smokes, then it becomes more carcinogenic. The free radicals get released. So you want to then dump it and actually start again. So be mindful to watch your oil, not to let it smoke, but it is still one of the best, healthiest oils I think around. So I'm a big fan of olive oil. All right, I'm gonna get a spatula out. Now that the onions are in, I can turn the heat up a little bit. I'm gonna add some garlic, which I minced before, right here. Just add, actually, you know what, in this recipe, I forgot. I actually call for sliced garlic. So the garlic is already peeled, but the nubs on the end still are not great. So you want to take those off if you're using sliced garlic. If you're mincing it, it's getting all chopped up, it doesn't matter. But if you're slicing it, you don't want the very end on there. And then just like I said before with the onions, you're going to use your finger or your knuckle as a guide, and you got to be careful because the garlic cloves are small. But here you get nice little slices. Again, take the end off. And the trick with the garlic is you don't want to let it burn, and you want to let it flavor the oil. So I'm going to cook it with the onions, then I'm going to remove it, and then add the onions and the garlic back in after I cook the broccoli. Okay. Couple more. Add a little more oil. Now you can also add water when you're sauteing vegetables if you don't want to keep adding more oil. Water is a wonderful thing to use, but you'll have to use it very little at a time, just a tablespoon at a time, so that it actually sautés and doesn't steam the vegetables. Anyone have any questions so far on anything? Okay. I'm going to get out my broccoli. Like I said, I was not able to get Broccoli Rabe. Whole Foods was all out of Broccoli Rabe. And with going to the market, I limit how much I want to go out, so it was not worth making another trip. So this is broccolini, also incredibly delicious. You can also just use regular broccoli or any other type of green for that matter. The ends I already cut off. If the ends are, you can look at the ends. If they're newly cut, when you get it, you don't need to cut it off. But otherwise, you're going to cut those off. The stems on broccolini are very tender, so you don't need to take the skin off at all. Whereas if I'm using the stem of broccoli, I always peel the skin off, the edges of the broccoli stem, because that's really tough and not pleasant to bite into. So I'm going to keep these into large pieces. You don't really even need to cut them into florets. They kind of do that by themselves.
Leia.
Hi, Leia girl.
Hi, sweetie.
Hi, Leia.
Hey, you hear all your friends on there?
Hi, Leia girl.
Time to have some more wine.
Buon appetito.
Bon appetit. Yes, I see other people drinking with me. Good, good. I hate to drink alone. Okay, so I'm going to pull these out. Unfortunately, I'm going to add a little bit more oil. And now I'm going to add the broccolini. That cooked up a bit. We're going to be adding some white wine to this as well. And not too much, just about a quarter cup. Yeah, a quarter cup. So here I'm going to add a little bit more water. So I don't want to add any more oil. Just like I said, a tablespoon at a time. Just so that you're sauteing it. The water deglazes the pan and gives it just enough moisture so that it cooks without steaming it. Time for a little more wine. Any questions about anything? Well, let me show you guys what I have in my refrigerator here. Here I have 2 loaves of sourdough bread that I am proofing, that I'll be cooking up later. And here are my vegan cheeses that I can show you. Okay, I'm going to add that wine. And so I say a quarter cup. You don't need to really measure, just a little. And so now I can cook a little bit in there. So these are the vegan cheeses. This is dill and chive and some scallions I put in too. The chives I had right outside of my garden. That's this one. And you wrap it in cheesecloth, and it's so good. And you can put it right out on a cheese board like you would a log of any other type of goat cheese. And here's another one. This is an herb encrusted one, and this has rosemary, oregano, dill. What else did I have? And lots of parsley. Let me see if I can get it undone here. There we go. This side's better. And then here's another one. And I actually have one other in the refrigerator that I made with sun-dried tomatoes and some sriracha sauce. So it's a little bit spicy. And that's really a nice one as well. And that I just put into a glass dish right here. But again, I still put it on cheesecloth so that if I wanted to, I can take the whole thing out like this and put it upside down into a cheese board. And it would look nice. And it's a little spicy and it's just also delicious. And all of those recipes came out of the Mayoko cheese book. So I highly recommend it. Okay, let's go back to Broccoli Rabe. Okay, I'm gonna add my onions and garlic back in. And if you wanted to this, you could also add sun-dried tomatoes if you wanted to spice it up a little bit. You can play with it. But it's a great side dish for what we're doing. I'm going to give it just a little bit more water. Not quite cooked yet. I'm going to pull out my lasagna. Or not my lasagna, my ziti. Show you how that's looking. So you can see now how the ricotta cheese, or the fake ricotta cheese, has firmed up. All right? So I'm going to just sit this right here. I'm going to sprinkle my mozzarella cheese right on top.
I can almost smell it.
Excuse me?
I can almost smell it. It looks so good.
And you can freeze this mozzarella or put it in the freezer just for a little while. So when you're, right now, like if you can see, it's hard to sprinkle it because it's kind of clumpy. Because it's a little softer than regular mozzarella. And when this comes out, I'll put a little bit more fresh parsley on it. And it's gonna go right back into the oven just for another 10 minutes. Really, it's cooked. So all you're doing right now is melting that cheese. Okay, and my broccoli rabe is finished here. So we're gonna leave it in here so I can heat it up right before plating it. What else do I have that I want to show you? I have in here somewhere well, actually, I don't see it, so I'll just have to make it up all over again. My husband's a big lover of garlic bread. So what I do, I buy one of those baguettes at Whole Foods, but it's too much for us. So I cut it into thirds, and I keep 1/3 out, and I freeze the other 2/3. And so whenever I'm doing an Italian dish, I can pull out 1/3 and have it ready to go. So I'm going to remove most of this garlic. I'm going to put back in about a teaspoon's worth. So I'm going to leave about a teaspoon's worth of garlic in here. I'm going to put some olive oil. Some parsley. Some salt. A wee tad of coconut oil. And the coconut oil just thickens it up a little bit. Makes it a little bit more butter-like. And that's it. I'm gonna give this a little buzz. And somewhere in that refrigerator, it's quite packed, but somewhere I have a little container of this. And I keep it in the refrigerator so that, you know, I make a bigger batch than I need. And when I want a little garlic toast or anything, I can pull it out. It's ready to go. So we have a little bit of garlic toast. We just spread this over the bread. Of course, you can also make a beautiful salad to go with this. Depends on how big a meal you're feeling up to doing. But, you know, a beautiful salad is always appropriate with a heavier meal like this. Okay. And then the last thing I like to do is I sprinkle Maldon salt. For those of you that don't know what Maldon salt is, it's a flake salt. Let me show you the container. You're gonna laugh when you see this because I buy it in bulk. Where is it? Where is it? Hold on, I gotta find it. Oops. It's in here somewhere. I see it. I want you to see the label. I buy it in a tub. But it's Maldon salt. It's sea salt flakes. It comes from England. And they're really, you know, big pieces of flaky pieces of salt. And they just give such a different texture than regular salt. So I just add a little bit of that to the top here. And then just a little bit of paprika to give it some color. And this can just go right into the oven while our cheese is melting. Okay. Time for some more wine. And how are we doing time-wise? Whoops, it's 6:15. I'm sorry, everybody. We're a little bit over schedule. But we're just about there. Any questions? If anyone has any questions about anything, this would be a good time to unmute yourself and ask. If not, I'll just keep drinking wine till the pasta is ready to come out of the oven. Broccoli, I'm gonna put into this bowl. Perfect. Ah, no, it's not perfect. Know what it needs? Maldon salt. Where did I put my salt? I didn't add any salt, and that's exactly what it needs. So I just sprinkle a little salt on. Give it a mix. Let me taste it again. What a difference. So that's all it needs is a little salt. That's great. Okay, let's see how our pasta is. Needs just a little bit more, folks. Getting there. Just want the cheese to melt. I'll show you what it's looking like. Ah, beautiful. Oh, garlic. I don't want to waste the garlic. Okay. I guess I just have to keep drinking wine. No one has any questions.
Bhavani,
Yes.
you need to hire a crew, you know, like they have on TV to do the cleanup.
Wouldn't that be lovely?
Yeah,
It goes fast though. Believe me. It really, I'm so used to it.
I know.
Cleans up very fast. Cleans up very fast. Oh, let me show you guys this in case you don't know about salad spinners I use all the time. This is my favorite salad spinner. Salad spinner I use not just for washing salad, but like the parsley that I washed. You don't want to, if you're trying to cut parsley and it's still wet, it's going to mush and not flake up like this. See how lovely this is? So you can sprinkle it. If it's wet, it's not going to do that. It's going to be clumpy. So by washing it in here, you can fill this up with water, swish it around, wash the whole thing, lift it up, drain the water out, put this back in, and then you spin this. And this is much better spinner than the pump kind or the spinning kind. It has a string, and it goes much faster, and it spins much quicker, so it gets almost all the water off, and it's really wonderful. It has a little stop break here, and it's just great. So I use this
What
salad
brand
all
is
the time. It's a Xylus, Z-Y-L-I-S-S. And the other thing that's lovely is if it breaks, which mine does, I have, my husband calls, I have a Xylus salad spinner graveyard in my stable. I have so many of the inserts, but the strings eventually break, and I use them a lot because I'm cooking so much. And if you write to the company, they'll send you a new one. So I have so many of the bottoms, and I use them all the time in the garden, just, you know, when I'm harvesting vegetables, because it has a strainer right in it, so it's great for washing the vegetables. And then I just take turns with the top, going on to all the different ones. So I have them all over the place. So I have my Xylus salad spinner graveyard.
I wanted to ask about when you serve the pasta.
What's
When
that?
you serve, I wanted to ask about serving the pasta because you have like larger pieces of eggplant in there.
Right. When you cut it, you're going to cut it just like you would a lasagna. And it's
Yeah.
going to hold together. The cashew cheese kind of really holds it together. So you can cut a square just like you would a lasagna.
Okay.
And also, it freezes really wonderfully. So, you know, my husband and I, we may take 2 pieces out tonight for our dinner, and the rest of it can go right into the freezer as is. You know, let it cool down, of course. And then put it right into the freezer, and it is great like that. Or you can cut it into, you know, portions and just freeze, you know, 2 portions at a time, so that you have many, you know, containers in the freezer, and just pull out what you need when you need it. So it's, you know, a lot of the food that I make is very versatile as far as being able to eat it down the road, having it as leftovers. Because for many of us, especially during quarantine, I mean, we haven't ordered in once. So every single meal is being cooked. And the way that I get around that is actually I'm not cooking every meal because I don't know how to cook for just 2. So I'm always making food for 4 or 6 or 8 or 10, and then I can freeze it. Or just put it in the refrigerator and have it as leftovers, and I kind of alternate so I'm not having the same thing many days in a row. And a lot of the food also can be repurposed and changed so that it looks different or becomes different. So this dish, you know, is not so versatile as far as that goes. But when I do a stir fry, you know, it can easily be changed to be, you know, into a casserole or mix in some pasta with it, or, you know, change it up, put a different sauce on it. And you can do it like that. So I'm pulling this out now because I think it's ready. It's getting golden brown. And I'm going to leave the bread in there just a few more minutes. I'm going to sprinkle my parsley on top. And this, my friends, is our dish. We have the baked ziti Siciliano with a side order of broccoli rabe, and we will have some garlic bread with it, which is right here like this. And together, we'll have a great dinner tonight. So I want to thank you all for joining. If anyone has any last minute questions, feel free to ask. You can always email me at bhavani@iEatGreen. If you have suggestions of a dish you would like to make, I know that many people have written to me saying they'd like to make some desserts, and maybe I'll do that as a separate Zoom class, but I really want this to be, dinner, us making dinner together. So feel free to email me with suggestions of what you'd like to make, and I'd be happy to show you. Anyway, thank you, everybody.
Bravo. Thanks, Bonnie.
Ah!
Thank you.
Thank you.